Hi there, welcome to another edition of Geeks Cantina. My name is Geeks. Today we're going to be talking about Netflix Army of the Dead. And I was very excited about watching this movie, which dropped last Friday. I watched it Friday night. So this is just a few thoughts and opinions. I'll try and keep it short because I do tend to ramble on when I get really fired up about stuff, as you could probably tell if you watch my one of my previous videos. But yeah, there's just a few thoughts and opinions about the movie, what I thought of it, and whether or not it's watchable. So yeah, you watch this, make up your own mind. But here we go. So when it was first announced that Army of the Dead was being made, I for one was quite excited because it was being directed by Zack Snyder. Now, I've always been a big Zack Snyder fan. I mean, he did films that I absolutely adore, like 300 and The Watchmen. You know, there's been some of his movies that haven't necessarily met the critical acclaim that maybe people had hoped. I mean, you had films like Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Regardless of what people say about the movie, I actually really enjoyed it. Whether people thought it was convoluted or stuff, but at the end of the day, it was Superman and Batman. Throw in Wonder Woman in there as well, Lex Luthor and Doomsday. So you know, it had all the things that fanboys and wanted, but you know, some people had issues with the convoluted. Anyway, I won't go into this. Isn't a review of Batman versus Superman, but yeah. So I've always enjoyed his movies. And I was very, very, very excited when they announced that it was going to be Zack Snyder directing this movie. Obviously, the first Zack Snyder film I ever saw was the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Now, I speak to a lot of people about this, but not a lot of people that I know have actually watched Dawn of the Dead. It was during the rise of the zombie movie era, so kind of the earlier series of Walking Dead, and everything was becoming successful, and Dawn of the Dead came around, and it is a tremendous film for anyone who likes the subgenre of zombie films in the horror movies, in the horror movie category. I would highly recommend watching this movie because it is an absolute masterpiece on how to do a very, very good and entertaining zombie movie. So when they announced that Zack Snyder was going to be doing Army of the Dead, he was returning to that subgenre, I was very excited because, as is true of all Zack Snyder films, whether you love them or hate them, visually they are always outstanding. He always has a unique style to his movies. There's a lot of production value. They're all very slick, very stylized, and maybe it's just something that I enjoy. But I like a good slow motion action scenes, and to make things a little bit more dramatic. Prime example is what he did with 300 and how he revolutionized green screen effects and use of the phantom cameras, you know, cranking it, speeding it up and slowing it down, and you know, and that's been perfected over the years since then. I mean, a good use of it was in the series of Spartacus. So as expected with Army of the Dead, it was visually very, very slick. As for the story and the plot, you know, it's a zombie movie. Yes, it's a heist movie as well. It's a kind of a crossover between a heist movie and a zombie movie. You know, these soldiers get hired to steal money in Vegas, and obviously Vegas, if anyone who's seen the trailer has seen that Vegas is overrun by the undead. After a freak accident, I'm not going to place this is going to be a spoiler free, so don't worry. After an accident, you know, things happen, and these zombies infest Vegas, and they manage to cordon it off with these big old containers, and you know, it's kind of like a kingdom all by itself. Now that the term kingdom is used very, very relevantly for anyone who's actually seen the movie and is watching this. You understand, but and it's isolated all by itself. So these soldiers are employed as mercenaries and thieves to infiltrate Vegas and steal all of this money that's conveniently in a basement of a casino. Now, as you'd expect, there's been comparisons to, you know, the Ocean's movies and numerous other heist movies over the last 20 or so years. and that. And yeah, I thought it was handled very well. You know, there was a good balance between the two genres of the movie. And yeah, it was good. And you know, it's gonna be falling into the realm of the ridiculous anyway, because let's face it, let's look at the movie, and what I've just talked about. But yeah, so obviously the cast is headed up by Dave Bautista. I like Dave Bautista. I've liked him ever since he was in the WWE. I always thought he had qualities that could transfer onto the big screen, and obviously he proved that all when he portrayed Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy, one of my favourite MCU characters. And you know, and he's doing remarkably well. Everyone's talking about John Cena and Dwayne Johnson, but you know, Dave Bautista's doing really, really well for himself. And another one who's come out of the WWE universe, and he's doing really well heading up this movie. And he's got some really strong acting chops these days. I was dead impressed by his performance. You know, talking about characters, there is a strong cast of characters in this movie, and you know, it's the classic, you know, they form a team. Everyone's got their skills. Everyone's got a role. You got the safe cracker. You got the badasses. You got the person that can smuggle them into the city from the quarantines, into the quarantine zone from the safe zone. And you know, so everyone's kind of got these roles as you'd expect. And yeah, and you know, these kind of the motives, the reason the characters have to going on this suicide mission, because let's face it, it's, you know, pretty ridiculous circumstances. You know, some of the motives are a little bit wishy-washy, but you know what, it's forgivable, because I absolutely enjoyed this movie from beginning to end. I really, really did. A lot of people complained about the length that the movie was, 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 28 minutes to be specific, but you know, for argument's sake. And people were complaining about the length of the movie before actually watching it. Well, if I see a movie called Army of the Dead, you kind of know what to expect. So if you're if you start watching the movie not expecting what it's about, it's called Army of the Dead, then don't watch the bloody thing. No one's got a gun to your head and telling you, watch this film or I'm going to pop a cap. You know, so don't watch the movie. If you don't like a 2.5 hour movie, just don't bloody watch it. It's not rocket science. But 2.5 hours for me is nothing. If it's a movie I've been looking forward to watching, I will sit through hours and hours and hours. You know, I sat through the extended cut of Return of the King, for crying out loud. And anyone who's seen that knows it's about 4.5 hours long. See, I enjoyed those movies, so I don't mind sitting through them. I sat through another Zack Snyder project, the Justice League, the Snyder Cut, and it was incredible. I loved it. Bit of a bum number, but you know what? If you're watching them at home, you can just pause, go have a wee, go have a cup of tea, whatever, and come back to it. You don't have to watch it all in one sitting. So why are you complaining, people? Stop complaining. If you don't want to watch it, don't watch it. It's really not that difficult. Anyway, let's not rant on too much. So yeah, it's a 2.5 hour movie. So I actually thought it was paced really well. It's a magnificent opening. Again, no spoilers, but it really you got the opening scene, and then you got the opening credits, and it takes about, I don't know, 10 minutes of the entire opening, and it is so well done. It really reminds me of the opening to The Watchmen, and the choice of music was just spot on. I absolutely loved it. So it caught me right from the beginning, and I thought, oh yeah, right from the beginning, I thought, yes, this is going to be, I think I'm going to enjoy this, and to my absolute joy, it did not disappoint. You know, the thing is with these ensemble movies is sometimes you can get a little bit, you don't care about the characters, but you know, you spend 2.5 hours with most of these characters. I say most of them because we all know that the odds are that, you know, little or none of them are going to survive. But because of the length of the movies, you do spend a lot of time with these characters. So by the time things start going awry, I found myself really kind of invested in their mission. You know, and I thought, wow, these guys, I really like these guys. Some of them are very likable, some of them are annoying. Again, I'm not gonna tell you my thoughts necessarily and opinions on that, because I want any people to figure that out for themselves. But there was one or two in there that, you know, probably could have done with being bumped off a little bit sooner, maybe. But you're going to have it. It's not a perfect movie. I will just say it's not a perfect movie because those are like unicorns. They are very, very rare and they do not exist. But yeah, it's I really found myself caring about these characters, and when things start going a bit pear-shaped, I was like, wow. I was actually kind of audibly gasping. I was watching it with my headphones on and stuff like that. So I dread to think, what my other half was thinking when I was watching it, because I was just like, look what's happened. But again, no spoilers. I'm not going to ruin it. There are some really outstanding moments. And there's not a huge amount of action in it. It takes a while. Now, I remember looking at the timer when they first entered Vegas. It takes 51 minutes, or about the 51-minute mark, for them to actually get their butts into Vegas, into the zombie-infested city, for the actual real story to really kick in. So it spends a lot of time building up, and that's where the 2.5 hours go, really, because before they even get into the main crux of their mission, they spend almost an hour talking about it, and there's a little bit of investment in character development. There's not a huge amount of character development, let's be honest, not an enormous amount, but you don't expect it from an action zombie heist movie. This isn't going to be an Oscar-winning movie. You don't expect necessarily fully well-rounded characters, but you expect to be given enough just to care about these guys. And I think Zack Snyder did a very, very good job of actually getting me personally invested in these characters. One of the things I liked about it also was that they put a different spin on the zombies themselves. As is seen in most zombie movies, they're kind of slow moving and they eat flesh and they're the undead, and individually, you could probably kick a zombie's ass quite easily, but particularly when he did Zack Snyder did Dawn of the Dead, the zombies are actually very fast moving. They actually ran, and they were actually very, very predatory and superhuman strength. And he does a similar thing with Army of the Dead. And you got your run-of-the-mill zombies, and they're slow moving, just hordes of them. I think they called them shamblers, if I recall. But then you got the alphas, and which I'm not going to go into too many spoilers, but they are much more sentient, much more aware. Not too dissimilar to humans, or maybe even kind of primitive humans. Read into that what you will. But there is definitely a consciousness there, and they emote and they feel, and they particularly what the leader. Again, I'm not going to go into specifics in the story, but he has the leader of the zombies, and there is a leader, so there is a clear villain in the movie. He has clear motivation as to why he doesn't want these guys to be in the city, and misunderstandings happen, and then all hell breaks loose. So when the action really does kick in, kind of in the last, I'd say last half an hour, last act of the movie, when there was a particular event that happens that really, sparks off what leads to the finale of the movie, and I'm like, it's on now, baby. It's really on. And it really kind of kicks into gear, and it's very fast moving, and there's lots of violence, lots of blood and gore, and I love it. It's great. It's exactly the kind of thing that I wanted. There was a particular moment that's a clear homage to James Cameron's Aliens, and I know other reviews have mentioned it as well. And I'm not going to spoil it because I want people to actually finally figure these things out myself. But there's nods and winks to other movies, and there's been clear inspirations. But I loved it. I really did enjoy it. It was paced very well. Again, not a huge amount of action, but when the action did happen, it was fast, it was crazy, it was violent. Bad language and blood and guts and limbs and stuff. It is So if you go into this movie expecting it to be kind of Little Women, please don't watch it. It's pretty grim. Let's face it, it's pretty grim. So on the whole, I found it a very entertaining movie. And I know other people that have watched it, and other people have enjoyed it as well. Yeah, it's going to have its critics, negative criticisms. You know, it's another zombie movie, and you know, the subgenre feels a little bit outdated these days. You know, particularly with The Walking Dead winding down, and you know, zombie movies have been punched out, oh god, endlessly over the last 10 or 15 years. Yeah, and it is set up for a sequel. This isn't a spoiler. Nobody's surprised that it's set up for a sequel. And Zack Snyders already said that if the fans want a sequel will be made. So I, for one, as a fan of this movie, and as a Zack Snyder fan, I want there to be a sequel. I want there to be Army of the Dead 2. And I want it to come onto Netflix so we can watch it in the comfort of our homes. Because I certainly enjoyed it last Friday night. It was 2.5 hours well spent, in my opinion. You know, it had everything that I wanted. So you couldn't really ask for more. There's a lot of fan service in this movie. So please, do go and watch it. Because whether you're going to watch it in the cinema, I know certain places are showing it in the cinema, or whether you choose to watch it on Netflix, I think it's... You know, and obviously, if you're a zombie movie fan, then please watch it, because I think it's gonna stand up there with those kind of quintessential zombie movies that people should watch. You know, along with the kind of Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, the remake of Dawn of the Dead, The Walking Dead, and you know, see lots of dead, Army of the Dead, and Shaun of the Dead, and you know, numerous others. I could go on and on and on. There's been so many of them, but this is certainly a fresh take on the franchise, not franchise, I suppose it's a franchise, of the genre. It's kind of, as mentioned before, it's more akin to kind of an Aliens type movie. I know, again, others that have made that comparison, and it is true. So, yeah, go watch it. If you love this kind of stuff, then, you know, it's 2.5 hours, but sit and watch it. You know, get some popcorn, get some beverages, enjoy it, because it's well worth it. And if you're a Netflix subscriber, it doesn't cost you anything extra. So just sit and watch it. It's great fun. So is Army of the Dead a perfect movie? No, it's not. You know, it's got a thin story and minimal character development. You know, but is it entertaining? Did it entertain me? That's what I always say at the end of a movie. Watching a new movie, did the movie entertain me? And I have to say, it's probably entertained me more than most others have in recent history. So, yeah, because again, like I said, I was invested in the story and the characters. No matter how thin the story was and how underdeveloped the characters were, I found myself going with these guys, going through the city. I felt it, and I was with them, and you know, and I felt empathy for them, you know. So yeah, it entertained me, and from what I can gather, it entertained hundreds of thousands of others. So Netflix, please do a sequel. Please have Zack Snyder do it, because he's a legend. Whether or not that'll get to Netflix, I don't think so. But you know, we all have to put it out there. Any of us that like the movie have to put it out there, otherwise they'll never get a sequel made. So watch the movie, make it public how much you like it, and another one will be made. I, for one, want to see it, because I, for one, enjoyed Army of the Dead, and I'm pretty sure you will too. So anyway, that's enough of my ramblings. Thank you for coming to Gekes Cantina one more time. I'm not sure when I'm going to be doing another video, but I'm sure in the near future I'll figure out another thing to talk about, another thing to rant about. But in the meantime, well, thank you for visiting. Keep up all the geeky work. Keep watching those movies. Keep playing those video games. Keep watching those TV series. I'm going to be doing the same. So I hope all my geeks out there are going to be doing the same as well. But anyway, I'll speak to you guys soon, and stay safe.